This is where the boy lost his life.
I want to go.
Ghostly apparitions, poltergeists and secret tunnels await the most haunted team in Shropshire. Hello and welcome to Most Haunted. This week we brought you to rural Shropshire, to a place that has so many regular hauntings we just had to come. This manor has experienced ghostly shapes, unexplained noises, and allegedly it has 2 hidden tunnels. Can we unravel the secrets of Fitz Manor? We have 24 hours to find out. The original structure of Fitz Manor was believed to have been a Saxon hall house, which was first recorded in the 12th century. The manor is mentioned in the Domesday Book and also in the Charter of Henry I. The house has its own church and was once owned by the Bishop of Shrewsbury. The church has been connected with the manor for many years, and in one such case, a priest was supposed to have been crucified inside the house for being homosexual. The manor is now owned by the Bailey family and has been since the late 18th century. Many members of the family and their guests have experienced paranormal activity and seen ghostly apparitions.
Fitz Manor is an extremely old property. It probably goes back to the time of the Saxons. So we're talking of how many generations of people have lived and died in this house. The first recorded family, about 1200. That's 800 years of people that we definitely know lived here.
A dramatic event occurred here many years ago. Allegedly, a priest was crucified against one of these walls. Since then, sobs, groans and moans are heard on a regular basis, and the family dogs, normally placid creatures, have turned against their owners in this room.
It's fascinating. They have 2 dogs here, and on frequent occasions the family are there, either watching television or working, and all of a sudden one of the dogs sort of stands up, stares into the corner of the room and starts barking.
Completely extraordinary. They, on occasion, have just gone totally mad. It's as if they're looking at something that we can't see. Their hair will stand on end, they'll bark, they'll growl, and nothing can induce them to go towards where we think they're seeing something. Then after a couple of minutes they are quiet and it's as if nothing's happened at all.
There is a story, an ecclesiastical story, of a priest that was reputedly crucified on the wall of, I believe, the drawing room for being a homosexual. Now, how true that is, I don't know. Whether people were actually crucified inside houses, I don't know. But the fact that there is the ghost of a priest here, of course, leads me to believe that is true, because a large manor house would probably have either its resident priest or certainly visiting priests at the time of Queen Elizabeth. There's probably priest holes in this building as well. Who knows what might be bricked up in that priest hole?
The figure of a Victorian lady has been seen in this room. She's been seen 14 times in the last few years. Many people have likened the apparition to this picture, which was found in the attic. She doesn't just confine herself to the house, she's also been seen in the local graveyard. Was she buried there?
I was chatting to my teddy bears, as you do when you're 6 years old, turned to look at the doorway. Whether I felt a presence, I have no idea. And there was a lady in the doorway in Victorian clothing, very, very, very kind-faced, hair swept backwards. I was completely terrified. I had no idea who she was. And then she just disappeared down into the floor, and that was the last I saw of her. She just evaporated into the floor, is all I can describe.
Guests come down and say, "Who was that old lady on the stairs?" And of course, there was no old lady there.
She has been seen quite a few times, so I know I haven't kind of gone completely mad.
one in the house smokes, and yet a very strong, pungent smell of tobacco fills this room and totally disappears. A past resident used to stay here, and he was known to smoke a pipe. Could his spirit still be here?
He had a particular brand of tobacco that, of course, was well known to the family. He's been dead 10 years. He's only buried across in the graveyard, and they often smell his tobacco in the room at night, in the room that he used to sit on many occasions.
Phil Wyman, our paranormal investigator, had arrived earlier at the location in order to conduct a baseline test. This is in the event that if any paranormal activity does occur, Phil can quickly evaluate the readings scientifically. OK, Phil, this is a beautiful, beautiful house, lovely gardens, there's an awful lot of history here. What particular place are you looking forward to investigating tonight?
I'm actually looking forward to investigating in the sitting room or dining room. Legend has it there was a priest crucified for his sexuality and walled up behind the panels there. It's also the place where I've set up the trigger object, so hopefully we can get some kind of movement with it being a cross and the religious connection.
What other things are you going to be doing tonight?
Well, we set up the motion detectors on the upstairs corridor. This is where footsteps have been heard, so if anything breaks the beam, it will sound an alarm and we'll be able to get up there and check what's causing the problem.
And also there's been sort of noises heard as well, by guests.
Lots of noises.
That's quite spooky.
Yep, loads, like I say, loads of footsteps. Sighs and groans, now that's an interesting one. It'd be good if we can get some of that on camera or on the dictaphone, for instance.
And also the smell of tobacco.
That's right, it's the orange room. Apparently there's a tobacco smoke smell associated with it. Now, we've had this in all sorts of locations. We've had baby sick smells, rose smells, smoke smells, that kind of thing. What a lot of people probably don't realise is that most paranormal activity or occurrences are actually smells or movement of objects or noises. Less than 10%, I believe, of people who actually experience paranormal activity see ghosts.
It's quite an interesting place. Lots of stories, active stories. We have a family here who actually are experiencing things now. So who knows what tonight's going to bring us.
I definitely believe in ghosts. I've grown up with them. It doesn't bother me, but I find it actually strangely comforting that there's something else in the house. But I'm fascinated to see whether Derek can find something or whether any of you can see something here on film. It would really amaze me.
We were eager to begin the investigation. All day we had heard different accounts of the strange things that had been happening in this home. We wanted to find out who these spirits were, and to do that we invited spiritualist medium Derek Akora to help us. We started upstairs in the orange room, where many people had smelt the strong fragrance of tobacco. Helen Bailey's grandfather had slept in this room and had been a heavy smoker, but would Derek be able to give us more information and tell us his name?
This should be like a smoke-free zone, but not to the spirit person, this man. He doesn't care less whether it's a smoke-free zone house, because he's going to smoke and no one's going to stop him. So it's like saying he's the only one here that smokes. And he doesn't care less. So that was his enjoyment. He smoked, and can you not eat it? Because I'm getting this with the residual energy, not so much in spiritually doing it. Yes, yeah, absolutely. And well, I would go as far to say this: if a person was sleeping in here, whether people do sleep in here, I don't know. I know there's a bed here, but if a person slept here, and it was a person that smoked, this tobacco is so strong that even the smoker in this bed would sit up and go, whoa. Now, if it was a non-smoker, they'd jump out of that bed because it's so strong. It'd be so noticeable, even if the windows were open. I know his essence comes here, and he does this. Now, maybe it can be checked.
Right.
And, yes, and again, I'm talking about this, but I want to go also into this passageway. Can we do that? So as we come out into this passageway, just prior to going into the bedroom, I was almost stopped, and it was like a psychic shield going woof. And just for a couple of seconds, my mind was trained, and I was made to be trained on this movement in this passageway, up and down, up and down. And purposely, the individual spirit person, separate to the man with the tobacco, because I'm getting now, and I'm very hopeful tonight, we've got what we call a child movement up here. A youngster, but also, not just the youngster, we've got, Sam wants me to use this word. The spirit person is a heavy foot. So I said to Sam, what do you mean a heavy foot? He said, is so heavy-footed that this individual spirit pronounces his walk sometimes at speed, like a small trot, all along this passageway. And, you know, it must be so noticeable because the person is purposely, the spirit person is purposely, it's like doing this. He does that.
Why? Why is he doing that?
To draw attention that he's around.
Derek, the child.
Yes.
Is that male or female? And the adult, are they male or female?
Yeah, I feel that the child is a boy child.
Okay.
And, well, I've got to say the heavy foot is another male.
Right.
Definitely another male. He's totally not connected to the child. Oh, right. Okay, that's good. Thank you. For some reason, there's a connection. There is a connection, forgive me. I hope we can make sense of this, of 4 generations.
Right.
Oh,
4 generations.
right.
So now we're talking now about, although we've got activity from these people, we're also linking in with the residual energy associated with their experiences here.
And there's a big gap between both of them.
Yes.
But they are related, but down the line.
Yes, down the line.
Right. Do you want to take a walk down?
Yes, okay. Now we've got a separate condition altogether in here. There's a lady who comes in here quite often. So often, even to this present day. Well, I feel she's learned the art, so to speak, if that's the right word, how to develop into this atmosphere, manifest, and I feel that she's well pleased with herself, and I know she's listening, well pleased with herself because she realises the body language of different people who have actually seen her. She comes in here, she walks up and down this passageway.
Who is she?
She's a lady, at this moment in time, a lady who's got very, very strong links with the history of this home. You know, when we talk about where certain family members down a family tree, we come across periodically a person that really stands out in the family tree, you know, about the personality, character and what have you. And I feel that this lady was a very assured lady in her personality traits, in some manner.
What era would you say she was from?
Oh, gosh. It's got to be maybe totally out here, Ivy, but I would go to maybe 1600 and something. Not to 17, on 1600 and something. I get the name Margaret. Margaret. I feel that name must be linked in some manner. And I don't feel she got what we call great age, okay? Before she left. But I feel that she is resident here as a spirit. As we've got a family who live here physically, she is here also.
All the time?
Yeah.
So according to Derek, the ghost of Margaret never leaves the manor. That being the case, surely we would experience something paranormal. The drawing room is a place that intrigued us all. A priest was supposedly crucified on one of the walls, and the family have often felt uncomfortable in this room. We needed the priest's name. Would Derek be able to help us?
Here, in this area here, someone was terribly, terribly hurt. I'll describe it in plain, simple terms. This person had his life as a man taken from him by 2 judgmental people and there was 2 involved. But there was more than 2 that knew about it, but 2 were heavily involved. And it's like, well, there was a man called Jesus that was crucified, and there was a man here that was against this area by this wall here, and literally crucified. And thank you, Sam. He couldn't plead his innocence because they wouldn't listen to him anyway, whether he was innocent or whether he wasn't. And this is what has been given to me very strongly, is that the accusations, according to Sam, were correct of what they accused him of. And I know, when I say I know, I say that humbly, I do feel it was sexual orientation. Now, because he has moved to a plane of life in the world of spirit, but the residual energy, I'm not saying at this moment in time he doesn't visit, but with the residual energy being still very grounded and strong here, I just get this psychic inclination that he does visit. It might not be often, but he does.
Is this an active room?
I don't feel that this has got activity in it as such as where we have one spirit person. The ones I've mentioned upstairs, if activity is taking place in here, it's only through the movement of the others,
Right.
Especially the lady.
Yeah.
She,
Margaret.
Yes.
Right.
And she would come down. I'm also getting Anne as well. Why, I don't know.
Right.
I got the name Margaret earlier, and I'm getting Anne. So whether they're connected or of the same person,
Don't know.
I don't know.
Right, okay.
At this moment, anyway.
Now that Derek had given us the name of Margaret and Anne, we thought it would be a good idea to go to the graveyard. By using our night vision cameras, we were able to film in total darkness. The ghost of a woman dressed in Victorian clothing had been seen wandering past the headstones on frequent occasions. Could it be the same ghost? By spending a little time there, maybe Derek would pick up a surname for Margaret, and her ghost could make an appearance.
Yeah, it's in this area.
What's that?
It's on this line.
That is a gravestone, isn't it? Please
Yes,
tell me that.
yes,
Oh
it
my
is.
God, what is it?
It's a stumpy tree.
Yeah. Okay, it's a tree. Yes. You okay? All right. It did look human-shaped, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it startled me as well. Okay. This line here, for some reason, in this section here, is if I'm drawn through that lady's energies, I take it to be Margaret, in this area here. I'm also picking up as well, is if with her energies, when she comes from the main building, the house, and if I'm retracing her energies, it seems to be this area that she seems to be concerned in. It seems she's got a connection. You know, it's the child as well. His links are here as well.
Any first name with the boy child?
Yes. Thank you. See, it comes to say I can't. The boy child, now they give me a little bit more. The boy child in the house itself, down, we've got the ground floor, down below the ground floor.
Yes.
They want us to go there to a, it's like an arch. It's like brickwork, an arch. And I go down and I look.
What's so significant about the arch, do you?
Well, it's a passageway, it's a tunnel.
Right.
To where?
It's got something to do with here. With here. It's strange even to me because as I get this arch is not up here for me to walk, or any three of us to walk through like that. It's like as if it's only seemingly high enough the boy could walk through, and it's down there that the boy relates to. I feel would have lost his life down there.
Down in the tunnel?
Yeah. Or down in that area.
How would he have lost his life down there?
I know, well, when I say I know, I feel I know that he was not murdered, taking his life from him. I feel it either an accident or something that... It wasn't a natural passing. I feel either he was trapped, he was jammed, he was something fell on him, or it's like that, and it's in that area because his energies come to my mind and draw me down. And it's like there's an urgency from these spirit folk if
Yeah.
we can go down to those conditions. But go on,
Let's.
Kat.
I was just to say before we do that.
Yes.
Should we see if there's a? See, I really. What?
Okay, it's just been given to me now. The little boy, okay,
Yeah.
is little Thomas.
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 Right.
Can you give me a surname?
Oh,
Please,
just so want a
come on then.
surname.
He's here. The name or whatever.
We decided to stay in the graveyard and look at the headstones to see if we could find the names of Thomas, Margaret or Anne. Surprisingly, these relatively common names were not written on any headstones. According to Derek, the little boy Thomas had been crushed in a tunnel. There were no records of a fatal accident, but there has always been talk of 2 secret tunnels, one leading to the church and the other leading towards another manor house on the opposite side of the River Severn. Maybe Derek could tell us more in the cellar.
Well, as far as cellars go, this is like a massive one, isn't it?
Yes. This is where the boy lost his life. Little Thomas, young Thomas. Here. This is the impressions I was getting earlier of this like archway, and also the spirit people would love right now, maybe at this moment, if we had a sledgehammer to knock this through now, because in doing so, what it's going to expose what is actually there is a tunnel, and that tunnel is where the young Thomas and his energies wanting to draw me down here to expose this. And some kind of evidence, something linked with Thomas, okay, can be found.
So you think that we should knock this wall down?
Absolutely.
If the family would allow it?
If the family allowed it, this would give it proof.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is this tunnel connected to the graveyard?
I feel there is some form of connection, yes. I feel, and even Sam's given me the impressions here as well, is that it's going to surprise, if not shock, once it is exposed, what can be found in there.
Great. Right.
It's not just an empty tunnel.
So you really are that sure that if we knocked through, we would find something?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to come out of it because I'm feeling quite queasy stood in here.
Are you? Why would he be feeling like this?
Well,
Come on out,
I
Ray.
mean, right away, the residual energies of anything. I mean, a young boy, okay, right, a young boy lost his life there, and it wasn't in a natural form. It certainly wasn't. He wasn't murdered. He didn't have his life taken. But I feel some kind of tragic accidents. What was going on with other people through the tunnel at that time? There he was, a youngster, got in the way or wasn't expected to be there. And the next thing, I just feel like a crushing now. And that's what Rick is picking up, is a feeling, the last moments, the last seconds and what have you, of what the physical body has gone through. Yeah.
Well, do you actually think that this area is active?
I do, yes, but not active, constant. It's like a periodical sort of thing. And if it's going to be active, it's because someone is permanently here, but in visitation.
Right. Okay.
And at those times of visitation, there is activity.
I must be going through the walls. I feel like my chest is being restricted.
Mate, I'm just feeling claustrophobic down here. I do basements and just get claustrophobic.
Like my chest is tightening and my throat's going
Why would that be?
Well, you see, what's actually happened here today, without Rick really being aware of it, for some reason on this location here, he seems to be that much extra open, the sensitivity, and he's picking up this stuff from the residual energy.
Come on, shall we make our way out?
Now that the crew had gained a little more information from Derek, it was time for us to split into small groups. Each group would investigate areas in the house where paranormal phenomena has been reported. Two of our cameramen, John and Craig, had teamed up with the owner of the property, Helen Bailey, to investigate the sitting room where the priest had supposedly been crucified.
Okay, well, we're focusing on part of the room that Derek mentioned, where apparently somebody was crucified. He could sense the agony that the person who'd been crucified had gone through.
How are you feeling in here, Helen?
I don't think there's anything in here at the moment at all. I feel maybe it's because you're both here, that there's company, but it doesn't feel to me.
How would you feel if... Oh,
wouldn't particularly like it on my own, I don't think.
You wouldn't?
No. Sometimes
left
I can
it-
walk
if we
through
left-
this room and I do feel like someone's watching me, but
But you haven't, yeah.
no, I've not actually seen anything in this room apart from dogs behaving weirdly. Did you have that
What?
on the corner just then? Have you got the piece of light going across the ceiling in view?
No.
Why?
I don't know, I thought I saw a little spot of light that moved, but it might have just been my eyes. Really
Yeah.
quick, just the kind of a zip.
If the ghost that supposedly comes back here and if he wants to make himself known,
There's a sign if you're there, you can hear us.
if you can do anything, if you can scare the dogs.
Well, I don't think our
No.
mountain panels is. I don't think he's still here at all.
I've got to agree. On the whole, the room feels great. It's got a pleasant feeling. The dogs are perfectly relaxed. And I can't say that it feels like it's
Well,
activity.
I did see something there, but I don't. Your machine didn't flash, did it?
Is it that?
No, it wasn't that. Something just kind of.
Right it up, yeah.
It was a very pale light. And I looked directly at it, and it was like a pale light. And that and the width and height of a person, but I can't tell you whether it was a person, and it just was like just an area of light.
Maybe it's perfectly aware that the camera's not turned round and it's playing tricks.
Helen was sure that she'd seen lights coming from the corner of the room. When looking back at the film, all we could detect was this strange light anomaly by the fireplace. As far as Helen, John and Craig were concerned, they felt fine in the sitting room, as did the dogs. Would any of the other rooms surprise us at Fitz Manor? Rick and I had decided to go back down to the cellar as family members and their pets had shown a dislike for this dark, damp place.
It does smell here.
That smell.
It hums. See, it's just nothing in here. Shall we go sit over there on the...
Fucking hell. I just felt, but like heard like this. Probably the walls just vibrating or something, but like, you know, creaking behind me.
Yeah.
Oh, that smell is just absolutely gross. It smells like Billingsgate Fish Market. Just absolutely hums. Why would it smell like that? Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a bit...
What was that? Did you feel that? Did you move your foot then?
No, I thought you just moved this thing here.
No. It's like a...
Yeah, it's like a... What did Derek say he picked up down here?
little boy called Thomas.
Thomas. Are you in here, Thomas? Are you in here with us?
That was like vibrating.
Shall I keep talking?
Mm.
If that was you, Thomas, responding to me before, or if that's you that's shaking the bench that we sat on, please do it again.
God, that smell is getting worse.
Stronger and stronger.
It smells. It's making me feel sick. It smells like rotting fish. Oh.
As you can see, it's just debris everywhere. It's not the safest of place, so let's go for a wander down this way. I could have sworn I just heard like a shuffling of feet just behind us then.
Is there anybody here in the room with us? Thomas? Thomas, if you can hear me, can you make a noise? That smell's gone. That smell
Yeah, it has
gone.
actually. Very good. Yeah. Did you just hear that?
That was like a little whisper. What did you hear?
Do you know what? I've got pins and needles all up my legs and all up my back. I'm very cold now.
I've gone very cold.
Are you
too.
cold as
yes,
well?
I am.
Right, should we... That's me again on that thing. We got a torch, have we? Calm.
This is a tiny, tiny little room.
I wonder what this was for then.
Just storage, I should imagine. What was that?
What? Whoa.
Oh, did you not hear that creeping?
No.
Yeah, it was like a...
Didn't hear it. What? From where? Over there?
Over there, and it went...
No, don't say it. That's giving me shivers, you say. Whoa! Chill out!
What did you see?
Nothing just shot past there. I got a heart attack.
Can we go now? Can we
I
go?
got a heart attack.
Please?
It was as if something just shot past there.
Let's go. Please, let's go.
No.
Rick, I want to go.
No.
Rick, I want to go.
Okay, if you want to go, we're going to go. I'm not joking about it. I just saw something just come. Look, nothing's going to happen.
Rick was convinced that he had seen a dark shadow pass in front of the doorway. This was enough for me, and I wanted to leave the cellar. Maybe another group would be braver than Rick and myself. Many people, including Helen Bailey, had seen the ghost of a Victorian lady in the red bedroom. I thought a séance might help to trigger some kind of activity.
Draw on the energy that is coming from the circle.
Please make your presence known to us.
If there's anybody at all in the room with us who would like to communicate, then please feel free to do so.
Is there anybody there? We mean you no harm. We just want to make contact with you to help. Use our energy. Please try and give us a sign.
What's that noise?
It's a little constant on the table.
It was a tapping on the table.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
I thought I heard it.
Again?
Come on, keep trying, please. You're making headway. It's not easy when you have no energy there, but we have the energy for you tonight, and we want to help you.
I'd like to know if there's a male presence anywhere in this end of the house that wants to contact us.
Yeah, the man that stomps up and down the corridor.
Yeah.
Who is he? Why does he stomp up and down the corridor? Who did that on the table? It was tap on the table twice. No?
Not me.
No.
I thought somebody had moved their finger or something.
No.
There's like something's breathing on my right hand.
Mm.
Can you feel that?
I feel very cold on the tips of my fingers, and it's like a cold breeze is blowing on, but I don't know it's everyone's breath.
No, I was just thinking that, but we're too far away.
Just
I'm
touch the
getting
first
it
knuckle.
as well.
Are you?
My left hand.
I can do it in both hands.
Right, it's coming round.
I've had it
over
right
to
since
my
the
left
beginning,
hand.
but I thought it was my imagination.
No, it's
No, it's
not
not.
to me.
No, so
Yeah.
strong on my index finger, ring finger.
Yeah.
Yes, it's got on my right hand. Honestly, it's as if
Feel the air changing.
something's
just like
passing
someone's
round
blowing.
our
Yeah.
fingers.
That's right, yeah.
Breeze.
Yeah.
Can you feel a breeze?
I feel breeze. Yeah.
Did someone move the table?
What?
No.
I've opened my eyes
Yeah.
quite a few times and just looked around to see if anyone else was making eye contact, because I've thought 4 or 5 times that the table has moved slightly, and I thought
Just,
obviously
I thought someone had just gone and done that with the table like that.
I felt that as well.
Now it does move, look, obviously, but I mean, did no one physically leant on the table? Come on, let's just try again. Is anyone there that wants our help for whatever reason? If you're stamping up and down the corridor, there's a reason for you doing that. You must again be wanting to attract attention. Why? Make the most of it and
Did
try.
you feel that again?
No,
I felt the tap.
Just a minute tap there.
It was twice.
no.
Was that the table?
Yeah.
Did you move that table?
No, I didn't touch it.
It shook.
Very strange.
You are starting to do something. Perhaps this is the first time you've ever had to do it.
We had all felt the table tilt, but presumed it was someone else moving it by accident. A tapping noise on the table was also heard and caught on our microphones. I wasn't brave enough to go back down to the cellar, so I asked Carl, the director, and Stuart to spend some time down there. A longer period of time was needed to investigate the cellar properly.
I've got to admit, this is a very, very scary place indeed, to be on your own, especially at night time anyway.
It's almost like you're not supposed to be here.
So how long are we going to spend down here then? An hour?
Yeah.
If we make it to an hour. Do you know when you know you're not on your own?
Yeah.
I actually feel a presence. I actually feel as though there's someone here in this basement with us. What it is or where it is, I don't know. There might not be nothing here. I'm not saying that. But I actually feel as though there's something nearby.
Is anybody there? Is anybody here in this room with us? Is there anybody who would like to make contact with us in this room? What's that? Shh. If there's any spiritual entity here, please try to show yourself to us.
What was that?
You haven't moved, have you?
No, I've not moved.
I'll tell you what, let's go and stand in this room.
Okay.
So if we let's get in here.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what we can get.
I can't see a thing.
You're right. Do you fancy staying in that room on your own for a bit?
I'll do 5 minutes.
5 minutes
See
on
how
our
we're
own
going.
each, 5 minutes on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay. See how we're going.
Yeah.
If I'm not too happy, I'll give you a shout.
Yeah, it's alright, I'll yeah.
Because this... Oh, Christ. Okay, right. Let me go. Let's see what goes on.
When I look back at when we first started to do this series, you would never have caught any of us, I mean any of us, in a wanted part of a castle or a manor house on our own. And here we are. I wouldn't say quite happily doing it, but what is that? What's that?
I've stayed in a lot of different places. Some probably far scarier than what I'm in now. But this, I don't know. It's got something about it, this place, that you're not welcomed. Something just shot past the screen then. I wonder what that was. Could have been dust, it could have been an orb, I don't know. But I saw it.
It must be a rat or something. It's got to be. What's that?
You moving, Stu?
Yeah, that's me.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
There was some bangs and stuff, but I don't think it was paranormal. I'm not quite sure. Do you think you've had any success in there?
Well, I've asked if there's anyone there, but nothing's happened at all whatsoever. A bit disappointed, really. I'd like something to have happened.
So how did the other members of the crew get on? Richard Felix and his group went into the grounds where nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Victoria and Kath sat in the orange bedroom where they kept getting the feeling that they were being watched.
I just get feelings that something's over my shoulder, and I don't know if it's the cone of the eye syndrome, something similar to that, where you just think something's always over your shoulder.
And Phil and John spent some time in a room where the door had a mind of its own.
If there's anybody in the room with us now, we'll...
What?
I'm sure that door just moved.
What?
I've gone all funny now.
Carry on.
Just let me get my composure back a second.
What?
Someone just pulled out of my hand. The door just pulled out of my hand. Pulled the opposite way.
You sure?
I just got...
On the whole, an extremely interesting investigation. In my opinion, virgin territory. You could not, I tried to look up this place on the internet and you can find nothing. We are talking of first-hand accounts from the people that live here that have experienced it.
When I first come into the room where the poor priest appeared to have been terribly, terribly hurt and eventually his life taken from him in such a cruel, cruel way, it shocked me because earlier during the course of the investigation in this lovely home, nothing seemed to be of that level. So it did shake me to think the idea that something like that had actually happened.
The séance, when we got round to doing the séance later on in the evening, that went quite well, I thought. There were some strange noises that we kept picking up. It sounded like something was tapping the table, somebody was tapping the table. None of the crew were actually doing this, and this happened on more than one occasion. So that was quite impressive, and I thought that went quite well.
Fitz Manor is actively haunted. However, I don't believe that this activity is on what we call a strict, regular, day-by-day occurrence. I don't feel that is happening. But what I do feel is happening is that when the activity is here, these spirit people really go over the top to make their mark and to be heard and seen.
Our night at Fitz Manor had certainly been interesting. One thing that intrigued us all was the tunnel. Derek had told us that the archway in the cellar was the beginnings of a tunnel where a little boy called Thomas had been crushed to death. The Bailey family had kindly agreed to try to break through the wall. After an afternoon of digging, there didn't seem to be a breakthrough, and since filming, no tunnel has been found.
What's quite interesting about Fitz Manor is that most people's experiences seem to be in various parts of the house, when in fact on this investigation, no real unusual experiences were experienced apart from in the cellar. It's only in the cellar where people were reporting something unusual happening. And perhaps that's not too surprising from a non-paranormal perspective, because first of all, Yvette reports there being a very unusual and very horrible smell down there. Well, again, with a dark, cold and damp cellar, perhaps you will get some unusual and rotting type smells. Also, Carl and Stuart, when they spent time down there, they were reporting hearing some unusual sounds. But again, with it being an old cellar, you might find that bits of stone will drop from the ceiling, hitting some of the rubbish that's on the floor, and perhaps creating these sounds. And when you're sat there in the middle of the night, or even 4 o'clock in the morning, you might interpret those sounds as being something a bit more paranormal.
Did someone move the table?
What? No.
I've opened my eyes quite a few times and just looked around to see if anyone else was making eye contact, because I've thought 4 or 5 times that the table has moved slightly, and I thought,
just
obviously.
One of the unusual things that happened during the séance is that people reported the table apparently moving. Now, I don't find that too surprising because everybody was touching the table and it wouldn't take too much effort on any one person's behalf to actually make the table move. That's not to say I think somebody was deliberately cheating or deliberately trying to cause the table to move, but it doesn't take much movement from that person to actually, for it to happen. What I would like to perhaps see the group do more often is to actually try to make the table tilt. Some groups have reported being able to do this when they meet regularly and conduct these kinds of seances and attempt to make the table tilt and sometimes even levitate under their hands. Some of the footage of this is usually not that striking, so I think here the group has a really good chance to perhaps pick up some of this unusual phenomenon on tape. So I would look forward to seeing more of those kinds of experiments in the future.
There are certain places in Fitz Manor that every member of the crew felt uncomfortable in. We all felt that there was definitely something there, watching us. What that something was, we will never know. Until the next time, sleep tight.
Okay.
Hotel
Blood has been spilt here.
is said to be haunted by 60 ghosts.
The bed moved. Did you touch that?
Over 3,000 alleged sightings.
Something just blew on my foot.
Tales of suicide.
2 people have taken their own lives here.
A family massacred.
And when he got the money, he slaughtered them in their sleep.
The Schooner Hotel.
A gust went like that, and it felt threatening.
Come spend the night. Brand new Most Haunted next Tuesday at 9 on Living TV. Don't watch it alone.